everybody. Let's have a little talk, and I'm going to get away from the joking side of myself a little bit here. A lot of people say one thing, but if you notice a lot of people and me talking, you're going to find out there's a lot of space in the world. Now, when I talk about a lot of space in the world, it just so happens not everything, and I'll pick on Scranton, and I'll pick on Philly, Pittsburgh, and Harrisburg. Not everything has to be right up someone's ass, okay? That's all those cities are, is up each one, each other's around. You could actually do what's called a metro quad, and that's where you put a city way up in the sky, like I had before, and only I think in design, to where the airport came out the side, where you actually had this plateau of roughly, I think about 2,000 feet of dirt, supported by these massive steel pillars and stuff, and you had people nicely scattered around in the city. The whole city roughly took about 100 miles to complete, and it could support up to 50,000 people. Now the interesting part of it is how some people think a little too small, too much inside of a box. Now with that and everything else, it's like I told some people way back before a lot of things changed. I can't always sit there and walk you through ABCs and your 1, 2, 3s. And that's the biggest thing about business. But I can't get you, at the same time, can't allow you to just start running the business. And I think that's where they got the mafia and the cartel thing going on. But the idea of it is not to utilize so much wood and land and everything else, but to actually utilize it in a smart way. Because you got to remember, there was no one here before, and then all of a sudden there is. That's a small time frame. But anyway, beyond that, things that were planned for this country kind of fell through and whatnot. And the funny part was, in the 4 hours you take to fly in an aircraft, technically in 4 hours I can put you in California, straight through. Now the only problem of it is doing the one thing that I hadn't quite worked out, and a lot of railroads don't want to budge about. Well, they're going to budge whether I say yes or no. So, idea of it is an 8-track line, and then an 8-track line for not really business, but to bring stuff to and from. Noticing that business doesn't utilize the railroad as much as it should. Now, if you took all the trucks off the road, you'd have all 8 tracks filled. That's where the truckers would be more utilized. And the advertisements would be Monday to Saturday or Monday to Friday or when you need it. So that's the interesting part. Now when you get down to people tax, you're lying to yourself. Unless you're talking about before the tax. And I would never call the money I have in my wallet taxed. You do know they come out of the mint, the currency, the treasury, untaxed. Brand new money. No tax whatsoever on. They have never been in circulation. They have no tax on them. No, the biggest thing of it is it's not taxpayers' money. If tax belongs anywhere, where is it always at? on the receipt, on the what was a purchase sale, now a receipt of sale. That's what it is, and whatnot. So, with all that said and done, how's it anything of any more than that? It doesn't say Michael Bolton's Texas. Diaries, treasuries, and vaults. Let's get to treasury before we get to vaults. Vaults are someone else's. Normally has the name of a person and a country if he's a leader. So they'll say whatever, then the treasury. Some will say the country's name, which can be fun because it's not the country's money yet. And you might say, well, how's that? Because I can't put any name to it. And the name there, which was actually a 1980s mistake, and as someone else's money, and it was that person's money plus the treasury. No, that would have been the leader plus the country, and the money that was left to the country, not to the person necessarily. Or some might have thrown their money off to the side in one steel cage, and then you got another steel cage, which is country's money. Okay, two differences. That don't belong to the people. That's the country's money. So where do you get people's tax? So now people are saying they're taxing, and you wonder why you get so ugly. Taxes make you ugly. That's why I never called it, and you don't see anything with my name on it and currency. I wouldn't want anything with my picture or name on it and currency. Now let me go down real quick how your money, if it were your money, would work. I got one in my pocket. One second. Alright. Here's the example. Let's get down to the whole idea of what stuff is worth. So, there's $1 bill, and he looks pissed. The cap, and some type of paper that came off a box, which is worth more money. Honestly. I'll explain the currency before I explain the analogy. Okay. This says it's worth 99 point plus 1 penny. But really, is it if I can take this and technically outrank that dollar? This is what they had a problem with. There's $1 bill, and that outranks all that, even though it's 10, 20, 30, 40, 1, 2, 3, and 4. $2.44. How's it outrank that dollar? Well, let's read a little bit. Federal Reserve note. United States of America, $1. Federal Reserve notes are often handed out to Federal Reserve employees so they could get money outside of the Federal Reserve. If it were Federal Reserve, because they used to say, not Federal Reserve, Reserve note. Okay, and what it was it meant to reserve the note until a person comes along and does one of these. Okay, so he's not going to move the pennies or the bronze over here, which he might, and he's definitely not going to say that this technically outweighs. But if I were to make this a forge, which it's not, it's just a piece of plastic, and I would take my lighter to it, and do one of these in a forge, I could smold it to what the old term was a maggot, which would mean it would look something similar to something like this, standing up, but more likely more straighter than that and whatnot. It'd be blank at that point. Okay, so same thing with this. If I took all these and stood them up, stacked them up, which one outweigh? What are you making a face for? Which one outweighs? Which one is worth more? Nickel, dime, penny. Piss off. 1 cent and 20 cents in ink. Maybe 10 cents in the sense of the coating. How much is this worth on the open trade market? To sell. Give me 1 second. If bronze was 10 cents, I'd say it'd be worth about $80 to $2.80. How much is that worth? Let's scoot that all out of my way. I don't have any black paper, but this will just have to suffice. We'll think this is black, or not black, but we'll think this is technically has no rating, and most of it doesn't. So how much would this be worth, this right here versus that right there? That's going to slightly outweigh it by 2 to 3 cents, but if I need something to write on, I need something to write on. Now you know what those bums going through trash cans are doing. Can I clean that up? Can I not clean that up? Can I use it? Can I write on it? Do I have a pencil to write on it? So it's about worth half of that. That's about 20, 40 cents. Definitely outweighs this. Alright, now let me show you why this and this and that doesn't outweigh that or that evenness. Alright, tell me where you see room to draw or to write on, and not over. Now you see that side? Now you see that side. There's very limited space, so that would tell me a total. That might actually be worth a few pennies. 2 to 3 pennies. That's used junk. Doesn't matter if it has these little. Alright. Doesn't matter if you have, little hairs, or not hairs, but threads, or it don't matter if it's green. It don't matter if anything. This is technically less than a nickel worth of junk, but we're calling it $1. Go figure, and I ain't lying. And it means another thing. We'll flip it over. Ignore that. Ignore the federal. It's a reserve note, so which would normally mean it may or may not have more value. We're going to just say we use it every day, so it has standard value. Alright, so with all that said and whatnot, that means that we're liable to hand this over to a drug dealer. We can get busted, but that's not the big thing. A Federal Reserve note has one other problem. Other than you can't write anywhere on it, the metal on it may add up after a while. Might bring it up by cents. But the biggest thing of it is who it belonged to. That's who it belonged to. So when I would go to trade a little piece of paper, and I would trade him this for this piece of paper, I'd have so many days to pay that piece of paper off. So I'd come over here, and let's just say, for argument, an example, it's worth that much. That's value because it can be melted. This isn't really worth too much other than maybe you can make a tag or something out of it, but or throw it in and recycle it, but it's not worth more than a penny. But that can be reused. That cannot. Anyway, that's all I gotta say to why currency battles can be a pain sometimes. But that dollar bill that you have in your hand, no matter which range from $1,000 bill down, is junk. It also means that because it's a Federal Reserve note, is that you're going to pay this amount of money back that you're handing over to them with your picture on it. Have a good day.